In the previous topic, we learned about DDL, so data definition language. So using that data definition language, we define some structures. So we could create tables, and we could define the data type for each column. And as a result, we could convert a conceptual model or ER diagram into actual tables. Now, in this topic, instead of a data definition language, we will use SQL as a data manipulation language. So data manipulation means we can handle some user data. So instead of a structure or instead of a table itself, in this topic, using SQL, we will add some information. So we will add some table rows, and also we will update those rows, and we will delete some information, some rows in the tables. And further, we will learn how can we select the information that we need. Therefore, given table structure, let's start to add some information. So, if there is a table, for example, let's say there is a product table, how can we insert some user data? To insert a new row in the table, we will use SQL syntax called the insert statement. So, the insert statement is insert into, then table name, and then we can specify some values. So this is the syntax. Although they are pretty similar, here I'm showing three different examples. So in the product table, how many columns we have? Product code as the primary key, and we have product description, in data, quantity on hand, and minimum quantity, price, discount, and vendor code as the foreign key. So total we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns. Here, the first insert statement, after values, we have to specify the value for each column. So a few notes for this first insert statement. Inside the values, first, how can we divide each column? The value of each column is separated by the comma. So for each value, there is one comma, and the second value, and then there is another comma. So let's count how many values here we have. One value, comma, second value. It's a little bit long value, but here is the second comma. So second value, third value, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then there is 7th and 8th values. So total we have, 8 values. Why? Because we have total 8 columns. So first, if there is no specific column defined in the insert statement, the total number of values listed inside the parentheses should be matched with the total number of columns in your tables. And second, after you separate these values, there could be two different types. One is character-based values, and the other one is numeric values. If it's a character or string values, this value should be enclosed by single quotation mark. So, if you enclose a value in the single quotation mark, for example, the second value here is power painter, comma, 15 psi, comma, 3 nozzle. Since this comma, two commas are enclosed by this outer single quotation mark, the SQL engine will not recognize this comma inside the single quotation mark as the separator for each value. So anyway, the character or string value should be enclosed by the single quotation mark. However, if this is numeric value, like for example here, 8, 5, or even the decimal value 109.989997, something, it does not have to be enclosed by the single quotation mark. So this is the first insert statement. Then let's look at the second insert statement. If there is null value, you cannot leave this as a blank, but you have to specify that this column, the value of this column is null. Again, by doing this, we can also match it, the total number of values in the parentheses with the total number of columns in your actual tables. The last example here is a little bit different. In this case, we have some values for some columns, but for some specific columns, we don't have information yet. In that case, we just want to put values for certain columns, not all the columns in the table. To do this, since the total number of values that I have does not match with the total number of columns in the table, we have to specify the column name where we are going to insert values. So for example here, how many values we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 6 values instead of total 8 values. And each value is matched with a specific column. So in that case, you have to specify which column is matched with which value. So here, the sequence of those column names should be matched with the sequence of values inside this parenthesis. So here I showed you a few different ways of using insert statement to populate or insert the data in your table. So let's start to add some real data in the tables in your database. So if you go to your database, you may already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tables, right? So particularly in this topic, we will insert some data for the vendor table and the product table. So let's click, SQL statements, and then let's delete the default select statement. But here I will copy and paste the insert statement in your notes. So I can copy this. And in this insert statement, for each row, we have a separate insert statement. And also note that we can run multiple, insert statements. But note that each insert statement is closed by semicolon before we start a new insert statement. So by doing this, we can run multiple SQL statements. We can execute multiple SQL statements. So let's try to run this. So click Go. And you can see our SQL query has been executed successfully. And how to check this? You may click on the left side the table vendors, and then by default it will show you the structure of the vendor table. But if you click the very left side tab called Browse, you can browse all the information that you just entered here. And then let's insert some information for the product. So for the product, in your class notes, I will copy all the insert statement, and then I will paste it in this SQL windows. So here we have again multiple insert statements, and let's run this by clicking Go. So if you click Go, let's check product table, and if you browse it, you have all the product information here.